Was Martinsville a good race? And then we will at least attempt to make our case for why each driver at random here on Let's Play a Game Halloween season edition on which driver and how we think they will make it into the championship and win the championship here on Stuck in the Catch Fence. The only scarier thing than Halloween is me attempting to do a live opening and butchering it like I do every single time. So that being the case, my name is Ryan Peters. I'm joined by Travis. But Travis, how you doing, buddy?
I am hanging in there. It is a beautiful 40-degree weather Monday. Rain, cold, but it's okay.
It's probably going to be the longest 6 days of your life here.
Yeah, I'm supposed to play in a golf tournament this weekend, so I'm trying to practice a little bit, but it's cold. And I was supposed to play golf today, but I was not going to go play in 40-degree weather and make myself miserable. Yeah, I'm not about it. So we're trying to enjoy a little bit on a Monday, trying to do a little sports betting, hang in there. So we're okay.
Oh, some sports betting. All right. So trying to earn your salary on the show.
I'm trying to do that, and I'm trying to get a new motor.
Oh, well, that makes sense too. Wonderful. Well, we didn't do a post-race show on Sunday. Figured, to be completely honest with you guys, it had been really hard for me to do a post-race show. I saw some people, maybe Travis will disagree with me because this is going to be our post-race show on the quick question. And it's going to be our thoughts on Martinsville. I'll just go ahead and lead this off. Again, if you watch the weekly show, I said that the Xfinity race was going to be a better race than the Cup race. I think it was by 110%. Don't get me wrong. There were still Xfinity shenanigans like, trying to run 2 laps without wrecking half the field. But that's to be expected at times. But when you watch the Xfinity race, the reason why that's such a good race is because that's how Martinsville is supposed to be run. You're supposed to be able to bump and run. You're supposed to be able to move guys. And unfortunately, for most of this race, for the Cup race, we got to watch who was battling it out in 20th, because that was the most exciting part, was who was battling out in the 20th position. And I know, again, you can disagree with me. Let me know in the comments if you feel that way as well. But where we were with a short track and where we are with Martinsville was we were under 10 piles of dog crap, and that we got something like breathing room or a tire that put down a little bit more rubber. People are going, yeah, that's actually better. Well, relative to being the worst product that we have in NASCAR, yeah, sure, it was better, but that doesn't mean it's good. And I just feel like where we're at right now with Martinsville is just not good. I want to see guys being able to fight for the lead. Travis, I don't like watching guys restart, and we have a 2-second lead, first to second place at Martinsville. That's not the type of Martinsville that I like to watch. That's not the type of Martinsville I enjoy. And, I think that NASCAR tried to do some things. I appreciate what Goodyear did by trying to do something, but we're just still not there. So I honestly didn't enjoy Martinsville. I understood the storylines, but if you look black and white at the race itself, it's just not the same. It's just not the same Martinsville.
Yeah, I think you got to look at it a couple different ways. You got to look at it from the car standpoint, and I think you look at the on-track product. I think if you look back at some of the old races, the 2004s to the 2004s to whatever to 2021 before the next gen. If you specifically look at those races, maybe some more passing, but I think the cars were all not equal. So when the cars aren't equal, you can have someone, I'm thinking Jeff Gordon the year in 05, 04, when he was like 3 laps down and came back to the field and won, but I think he just had a little bit more of a dominant car per se and was able to make all those moves, come back and win, per se. Think all the years that, people can come back to bunt. back to front. But if you look at this next gen car, it's just hard to pass. And then it's I think even if you have a super dominant car, I think you look at Truex as a perfect example. Led part of early in the race, got that speeding penalty, and it's just like Priest did in the very first race. You get mired back there, you ain't going forward. Even if you're off strategy. I think at the end of the race, the little different strategies made it a little bit more entertaining. I think it was able to make some passes and things like that. But, you got to – I don't think – I want to say the tires the issue, maybe some more wear. But I personally, I just think you got to add horsepower somewhere, change the gear. It's so easy to just go into the corner and downshift and then pick up that throttle. There's just no – you didn't hear a lot of, oh, I'm having trouble with the rear grip. It was, hey, I don't have lateral, like my rear end is coming out. There was just not a lot of talk with that. So I thought we went in the right direction, but I don't know. It's still, if you look at old races and old time friends that, not friends, but old time fans, this is almost similar to an older Martinsville race. I'm going to say that because usually the top 10 or 12 usually stay right there, and usually the people from 12th or 15th on back typically battle it out. I thought, you saw passes for lap cars, which we didn't see a lot beforehand. So I have mixed feelings. I'm not going to say that I thought it was a great race, but compared to the Xfinity, I think Xfinity put on a better product, but I think the ending of the Xfinity race made me not turned on to the Xfinity race, if that makes sense. So like I said, it goes both ways, but I don't know. I wasn't like mad about the race, but also I think if you're I think you're some people in the back half, maybe it was a little frustrating because you can't move forward. I think if I was like a William Byron fan, which that Hendrick, maybe a little bit, maybe I was a little frustrated because he couldn't move forward. But at the same time, I don't think his car was perfect. So I don't know. I have very mixed feelings. Yes, I know you and I texted back and forth about maybe boring first half, but I thought I don't know. I didn't think it was the worst thing I've seen. I think I would choose.
No.
I think I would still choose that race over I don't know. I feel like that wasn't as boring as some of the races we've seen this year so far.
No, but a lot of the races this year too don't get the built-in storylines. I think that's a part of it too. Like, you can manufacture storylines and make an interesting race, even if it's not that interesting. I just don't, like when we're watching the Xfinity race, we're not paying attention to who's in 19th through 20th place, because that literally was the best racing the entire time. Was the guys mired in the middle of the pack, whether it was due to a bad car or Martin Truex capping off another terrible playoffs by not being able to get into the top 10 by speeding with 200 laps left to gain one spot in the top 3.
The issue with that too was he was like, well, they told me I could do 4 red lights. I think they only have 5 lights on there. So I was really shocked that he even was that aggressive.
The gamble was not worth it. I mean, to get second place off pit road versus third place was not worth it. But but like you said though, you mentioned Ryan Preece in the midweek show. Like, if somebody gets mired back in the middle, they're done. And that's what happened. And and I just don't feel like the shifting has a part to do with it and things of that nature. But I don't know, what we have at Bristol and what we have at Martinsville are not what we want. Martinsville has become a mile and a half with a Gen 6. It's whoever's got the best air usually ends up winning. And, and I'm okay with a car dominating. When Kyle Larson goes out to North Wilkesboro and he dominates, it is what it is. The guy absolutely dominates. But if Kyle Larson was to get in 10th place, would he dominate here if he had the best car? No, I don't think he would.
No.
Kyle Larson had to pass everybody at North Wilkesboro to dominate. At one point, had to pass everybody. Here, I don't think that's possible. Or insert driver who you thought. For Ryan Blaney. Ryan Blaney was the quickest car. He only had to pass 2 cars the entire day, and he had a hard time doing that. He had a hard time passing 2 cars.
And I think you look at him, though, in the very beginning of he went from, in that first stage, he went from 11th to like 3rd or 4th in the first 100 laps of that race. And I felt like he was the only one that could sit there. Okay, he can make passes, was great on the long run. I think he might have been the only example that says, okay, I can be back here in 15th and I can go up to the front. Like I can do.
Right.
And I feel like that was an old Martinsville type of thing. So, like I said, it's not the worst thing I've seen on track for sure. I got probably more complaints than that, but you see like a Ryan Blaney or even part of a earlier run of Hamlin be able to go back through the field. Maybe it's just they had a little something extra. So, like I said,
Yeah.
I'm partial on both, but
And I wouldn't make the same argument for Richmond.
Yeah.
Like this is Richmond's Richmond. Like that we haven't seen great racing in Richmond, but
Mhm.
I've seen great racing in Martinsville.
Yep.
So, that's what I compare it to. That some people are going to compare it to last year or hell the spring or whatever, and I don't compare it to that. I compare it to the days of when Martinsville was at its best, and there's a reason why Martinsville was a cutoff race, and it to me it wasn't for the product we've seen the last 2 years.
Yeah. I agree.
So now, Travis, we are going to jump into something a little bit new. We are going to play a game, and we are going to test our instant knowledge on who we think we're going to make the case for, if you will, for why we think they're going to win the championship. So instead of, you're watching TV and getting some pre-canned answer, this will be purely on the spot where Travis and I will we'll pick a driver based upon the wheel. So let me know when you're able to see that.
Good.
All right, Travis, you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
I'll go first.
All right, here you go. This is not pre-canned. It says help you make a random decision. There we go. All right. So you
I got William Byron.
have to give me the reason we'll win the championship.
I think if you look back at the first race we had at Phoenix, he obviously won that race. I think Kendrick's been pretty decent there as of late. And you got to look at who's been someone who's been able to close out races. I wouldn't say William Byron's been there at the top. He was in the top 5 or 10 most of his races he's won. And guess what? He's been there to the end. And what's it take to win a championship? Finish a race. It doesn't matter. I think Larson proved that, a bunch of races this year. Lead 100, 150 laps, but not there at the end. William Byron's on the exact opposite of that. No leading. I don't even know how many laps he's led this year. I bet it's not been over 700. I bet if we looked up the stats, I bet he has less than 800 laps led, if I'm going to be honest with you. But he's been there all the races, all the 6 races he's won this year. He's been able to finish. He's been able to pull off what he needs to do. I think Martinsville is a perfect example. Awful all day, offer all day. They kept fighting. He ended up just getting a good enough finish to get there, just enough to finish the race, and he's moving on. I think Williams is a great pick. He's probably, I don't know who the favorite is going in this. I don't know who the betting favorite is. I'd like to see what people have on that, but it's hard to pass up William Byron whenever you got someone who's been able to close out races and being able to finish races like he has. And and to think about, who's the youngest there? Who's got the most? It's like, you know what? I have nothing to lose here. Like, it's not, I got many more years I could go get one. I think William Byron's a great pick.
All right. So I'm going to throw an audible. I'm now going to give the opposite for the same thing that you just did. And I want you to do the same for me.
Okay.
So this is the reason why William Byron will not win, is because when somebody had a 33-point lead, he required a lot of help to try to get into the Final Four. Also, we're coming off a short track where you just saw he had some of the slowest speed out of the Final Four contenders. So you don't want to build upon that momentum and then go to another shorter track, if you want to call it that, in Phoenix, and have that same type of car, if that's going to be the same package that we run, which it will be at Phoenix. And on top of that, you mentioned age. Well, he may not have nothing to lose, but he also has the biggest never been there before moment in his entire career. So what type of pressure does he put on himself? Normally pressure leads to mistakes. That would be the reasons to me why William Byron would struggle, but you make a very compelling case. So now
I hope you get someone. Don't get who I think you're going to get here.
It's based upon random. I promise you guys.
I know it is, but
It is based upon random. All right, because you don't want to make the case against. I have a feeling. Big money, no whammies.
God,
All right. So I will. I'll let Travis be able to hear my compelling case on why he's going to win the championship, so that he can then retort everything that I say, if he can. If he can, I don't know. Blood's thicker than anything, any allegiance, so it may not be able to. The reason why Kyle Larson will win the championship is because he's probably the best driver in the sport today. That is why Kyle Larson will win the championship. He has had the most amount of time to build a car to get ready for Phoenix. He's probably the best driver in the series to be racing at Phoenix, and he led the most laps and dominated there in the spring, just didn't have it there at the end. When you look at somebody trying to build upon their legacy, winning a second championship would put Kyle Larson, not only is he going to be in the Hall of Fame, don't think about it. Don't ever worry about another person never going to say that he's not one of the greatest drivers that the sport has ever seen. So that being said, he is the reason why he should be, and in my opinion, is the betting favorite to win a championship at Phoenix.
Kyle Larson will not win the championship because of one issue that he has, and that's finishing off races. If you look at all the races this year, he's had 14 races out of the 35 with under 10 laps to go. 14 of those races he's led with under 10 laps to go. And you probably can add a few more races under 20 laps to go. And he's only won 4 races. So 10 of those races, he technically, the what ifs of the season. I think Kyle Larson, if you look at, I saw a crazy stat today, and it was Kyle Larson has just as many DNFs as Kevin Harvick with 495 less starts. Or
Holy cow. That's pretty impressive.
That is, whatever. And I think Larson is I either going to win or I'll finish last. Like,
Harvick is known as the closer versus the opposite of what you're talking about.
So I think Larson is going to struggle being there at the end. He's going to put himself in a bad position. But I look at all the races. I think of like Dover in 2021. I think of Phoenix earlier this year. I think of some of these races where he just started off super hot and didn't close it, didn't finish. I don't know if they make a bad adjustment. Then maybe he tears his stuff up. I just think of all these options where, how many times has you've seen Kyle Larson, win a race because he was there at the end. I think of like Michigan is one of his like first wins. He didn't do anything all day and then won on a restart against Martin Truex. I think of maybe Darlington this year where he wasn't, he was fast, but he wasn't like exceptional. And he was he led the last like 50 something laps. I think of something like that. But I think it's if he's gonna lose it, he's either gonna win it because he's there at the end, or he's going to wreck and lose it. I think that's the only two things. Larson's either going to win it because he's going to run all 312 laps, or he's going to lose it because he's going to wreck at some point, being over aggressive. Or, in my opinion, I think he's under aggressive sometimes, and that's why he loses a bunch of spots. So it's going to be very interesting. But that is why Kyle Larson will not win the championship.
He was 1.5 miles away from losing that race to Christopher Bell, the one that he won. He closed. I think
it was a quarter of a mile.
I'm being generous, but that being said, and we'll get to our picks later in the week when we do our weekly show and things like that. But I do want to give both sides of why each driver has a chance to win and why we think each driver will lose. So now, Travis, I will bring back up the screen, and we will let fate decide. So because I got Larson, you're getting Christopher Bell, right?
Yeah, no.
Like, we just go ahead. I mean, fate, fate is what it is, but you're getting
No.
very very
Oh.
close. I that was close.
So why will Ryan Blaney win the
Why?
championship? I think if you just look at his performances in the last 2 to 3 races, who has the most momentum coming in? It's Ryan Blaney. He has been fantastic. He has been so underwritten at Phoenix in the fall race. You look at 2020, 2021, 2022. He should have won it last year. If we're really going to be honest with you, if his teammate wasn't in for the championship, he would have won Phoenix last year easily. He didn't want to battle with him. But I think you got to look at, you know, where's the momentum and if he's been good there lately. Sure enough, been fantastic there in the fall, and he has momentum. He is a betting favorite. I think he might be it because I know he's never been in this position, but it's hard to go against him. Momentum, been great at Phoenix lately. I don't know. Like I said, I think he's going to be the most simplest one to say, you know, in this little conversation of why he's going to win it. I think he has got more positives. I think he has, in the last 3 weeks, he's built himself more positives than he has negatives for the sake of momentum. He's got a 1.5 average finish in the last 2 races because he's got a win in a second. And he's going to one of his probably best tracks, although he doesn't have a win, but he's going to probably his best track per se in the Cup Series besides probably Talladega. But that's why Ryan Blaney will probably win the championship.
Okay. It would be back to back for Penske in a world that it definitely doesn't feel like Penske deserves to be back to back. The reason why he won't win is because he's driving a blue oval, and the blue ovals just don't deserve to win this year. I couldn't imagine, out of all the things that we've talked about with the next gen car, that the blue oval Ford is the thing that gets 2 championships before any other Toyota or Chevy. That's one reason why, because they consistently haven't had speed. Another, he was 12th for a reason in the round of 12. Yes, he had to work his way through it, but shows you throughout the entire year that Ryan Blaney's been blah. Kyle Petty compared him to Casey Kane. Casey Kane ain't winning the championship. Ryan Blaney isn't going to win this championship. He's been by far the slowest the entire year out of the 4 guys in the field. He probably has the worst pit crew out of the 4 guys in the field. You're looking at Joe Gibbs and Hendrick Motorsports. I'm sorry, when it comes to the Goliaths of this sport, this is the Goliaths of this sport. You're talking about the Chiefs and the Yankees right now currently. Well, maybe not the Yankees because, you know, they suck, but historically, you're talking about the Yankees of this sport when it comes to Hendrick Motorsports. And, you know, possibly for the football team, it would be the Tom Brady Patriots. That's what Joe Gibbs and Hendrick Motorsports is. There's no way somebody like Ryan Blaney, who made it on a prayer, makes it and wins the championship. I know what Joey Logano did last year, but he's not Joey Logano. Joey Logano has 2 championships. Ryan Blaney making it to his first is a nice story. It was sweet. He's a perfect underdog, and underdogs typically lose in the championship game. A la Butler. Welcome to this year's Butler.
Not bad.
Sorry, Ryan Blaney fans. Feel like that had a lot of built-up animosity against Ryan Blaney. I have no built-up animosity.
Sorry, Blue Oval fans. Rip.
Sorry, John Forster. Again, who is talking about Stuart Haas. They don't have Smithfield. We'll talk about that on Wednesday. So
they don't even have a. They didn't have a card in the round of 8. Barely in the round of 12. They didn't have a round. They didn't have a person in the round of 12 either.
Nope.
Wow. Rip.
So the last one, I get to take my victory lap, even though Travis wasn't able to take his.
You got what you wanted.
I got what I wanted. Christopher Bell. The reason why Christopher Bell will win this, number one, because it validates that I chose him to win the championship. So selfishly, that's the number one reason. No, the reason why is because I've been saying quietly now for the last few years that Christopher Bell is one of the top 5 talents in the sport, and I don't think he fairly got the right treatment as that. Christopher Bell has been attempted to be murdered by his pit crew, and he's overcome it. He's grown up a lot this year. He's put things behind him. Does he have the possible speed every single week? Maybe not to win the race, but he sure has the speed to consistently get in the pole. And at a place where you need speed, you need track position. I don't think anybody be shocked if Christopher Bell won the pole and maintained that track position and got the number one pit stall. What else do you need? Well, you need a good crew chief. Adam Stevens has won 2 championships. There you go. That's another guy that is in his corner to help him win a championship. And Christopher Bell has been close. This is back-to-back years now. He's made it to the championship 4. He's shown that he is the future of Joe Gibbs Racing. Everybody wants to talk about Denny Hamlin. They're not here. Everybody wants to talk about Martin Truex Jr., one of the most catastrophic, colossal collapses of all time in all sports compared to what we've seen. Christopher Bell has been that steady Eddie guy that says, I'm really, really good. I'm really, really good in multiple cars, kind of like the guy to my right and his favorite driver. And this year, it hasn't been the year where I thought he would win the most races in the sport. But at the end of the day, he is a deserving champion, a 27-year-old, very, very young, the second youngest driver in this field. And I think now has come his time for people to go, Christopher Bell is one of the best drivers in this sport.
So, I mean, he's not going to win the championship because Kyle Larson's in the Final Four. I mean, we'll just keep it super simple. No, I think
that's a good argument.
I think let's look at like the picture, consistency. I think he's been better in the playoffs lately. I would be fully admit that. I know he shows up in big moments, but I don't think he's going to show up in the when the spotlight's the brightest. And that's a championship race. I don't think he has it in him, and I just don't.
I think he's got that dog in him.
When you look at the championship 4, and if you rank them, I know you've been big on him. I just don't see him. I think, like as a Kyle Larson fan, as a William Byron fan, I think I'm more worried about Ryan Blaney than I am Christopher Bell now. Although, if you look at who's around Christopher Bell, you got Denny Hamlin, not a bad guy, pretty smart guy, could probably maybe help him in a way on getting around the track. Martin Truex, not half bad, maybe can help him. He's got probably more around him, but I think he's also going to have too many people in his ear. I don't know if he is someone that is going to be mentally capable of taking all this information and putting it to the race. I think you look at the people around him. I think you got the Ryan Blaney. He's got Joey Logano. Not going to be around there, but I think he's going to have enough information from Joey to say, okay, like I can help you. You got 2 teammates in the Final Four as Larson and Byron. I think Byron's going to take more help than probably Larson will. I think they're kind of on their island in a sense. But I think Christopher Bell and them is going to overthink this. They're going to get way over their head. And if they would just do what they do when they win those other races, I think they'll be okay. But I think they're going to overplay this a little bit to the point that I just don't see him winning it. I think as a fan of Hendrick and a fan of this, I know I'm overstepping this, but I'm seeing him as the least guy I'm worried about. I think he's going to come out qualifying fine, but I just don't see them having the speed in races. And I think about his only asphalt win came 2 weeks ago. Where did he win besides that? Dirt. So you tell me he's got one win on asphalt, and it came at a very technical track, because it is. It takes a lot of talent, which it takes talent to win a championship. But he hasn't won anything else. Like, he hasn't been somebody that's like, he's got speed. He just wins in the right moments. He gets in this Final Four. He just kind of gets back. He's been very underwritten throughout these races, but I just don't see him. It takes a win to win the championship, and I just don't see it in his cards.
There's only been one driver in this sport who had to face one opponent out of hundreds that meant anything to him, and who had the same amount of car and / talent, and beat him, and that was consistently Christopher Bell on the dirt scene. So I think looking at that, that is two passionate fires that these guys will have at each other. Christopher Bell versus Kyle Larson. This will be a saga that, just goes into another chapter. And Christopher Bell was winning it early. Kyle Larson has much put it back the feather in his hat here on the dirt scene, at least. Now that Coy Gibbs is gone, Christopher Bell doesn't even get to run dirt because Joe Gibbs doesn't like people running dirt. So it would be nice to see them even now.
Yeah.
And Christopher get that championship to go with Kyle Larson, because that's one of the most, at least in all of motorsports, one of the best rivalries that we've had out there, from the local scene now moving its way forward. If I see William Byron and Kyle Larson looking at each other, I think William Byron probably feels a little bit in his giblets and maybe has a little running down his leg. I'd say the same thing about Ryan Blaney. Christopher Bell, I think, would look at that and go, sweet, we've done this before. And I think that that would be the best case scenarios to see those two battle it out for a championship. And whoever has the best car, they're going to race each other fairly. They typically do. They have a ton of respect for each other. I would say that they're both very, very clean drivers in the grand scheme of things. And like you said, probably are under aggressive more often than not. And, I think that would be a storybook ending for the roots of motorsports, to watch these two dirt drivers battle it out and see who ends up being the best man, at the last race of the year. So, but I don't disagree with anything he said. It's going to come down to me. It's going to come down to that extra week for Kyle Larson. Was it enough? I really do think that. I really think 7 more days to get ready for a race really does matter in a year in time since COVID, that these guys don't get to do this anymore.
And it makes you
not practice time. It's not qualifying time. It's now they actually got to, for 3 weeks now, work on a car to win a championship.
And it makes you wonder, though, how much are they bluffing? Because if you listen to Larson and you listen to Cliff Daniels, they're like, we're preparing every week because we want momentum. We want to be good at Homestead, and we want to be good at Martinsville to lead up to it. But if you listen to Christopher Bell, they put 0 effort into Martinsville. They put all their effort into Phoenix.
Yeah, he says we got a rocket ship. That's it.
Yep.
Was his quote.
Yep. So
and I think that is complete bullshit from Kyle Larson. They 100% have been. I don't think Kyle Larson is going to lay down per se, but I do think that they have 100% put all their effort into.
And what's crazy to hear Larson talk to is how much sim work do you put in? And he goes 0. He goes, I just go off of we have other people that do sim. And he goes, I don't do sim because I don't get a good feel out of it. So there's no point in me doing sim. I go race other places. That's how I get my sim work. So then you look at, like that, and you look at all these other places. I don't know. I think he's going to be, it's going to be I think it's going to be a fun race. It's going to be, like I said, so it's going to be around those 4. I'm actually going to get an in-car camera of Larson for the first time all year.
Hey.
So I'm obviously
He got a first in-car camera of Byron in his career, I think.
He had one in Martinsville. So,
yeah.
So think about, I don't know why, and I always want to know, but this is Larson's first one of the year we had an in-car camera. So that is crazy to me, but whatever. So like I said, it's going to be interesting. I think they're going to put on a good race. So like you said, I think it comes down to, who's there at the end. So.
Well, Travis, we got one thing left to do, and that's burn it down. Actually, for Burn It Down, was just going to put Andy Petrie and Richard Childress remarks on Sheldon Creed, since they decided they were going to burn the whole place down after that race. But I decided to go a lighter route and just do an actual car. For my Burn It Down, I've been hearing chatter about the playoff system, that if William Byron and Martin Truex Jr. didn't make it into the playoffs, then the regular season doesn't matter. And I cannot disagree with that anymore. Is the playoff system perfect? No, I would change the races around a bit. But what we have right now has rewarded the fact that Martin Truex Jr. is currently 12th in points based upon how terrible he has been. He has rode the entire regular season to get to where he's at in the playoffs. And you could really say for any sport, well, I don't need to watch until the playoffs. Well, no crap. But if you want to see how the story got here, you watch the regular season. And I thought we had a pretty solid regular season. And the regular season is why we're making the picks that we are today and given the cases for both. It wasn't just because what happened 10 minutes ago. It's because the playoff system and the regular season point system has really, to me, set itself up perfectly to reward guys who did the work the first 26 races of the year to get to the point to where they are right now. William Byron had a really, really good regular season. He needed all 33 of those points to make it to the championship four based upon what he did. So don't ever have recency bias when it comes to a point system. We have a good point system here in NASCAR. Traditionally, if you would look at it, I think it would be Byron and Denny Hamlin separated by 3 points. Would that be fun? Sure. But more often than not, you don't have that. Being a Jeff Gordon fan, you would know that. Where Mark Martin one time, I think, won 7 races and lost in second place by like 150 points. We wouldn't have the same thing that we have today. I think what we have today in NASCAR is about as good as it could get. Could it use some tweaks? Sure. But if the 2 best drivers in the regular season don't make it to the final 4, look at every other sport.
I agree. I think it's like I think you made a good point that's saying I get the system. I think still the best chase in my point is when it started in 2004 to whenever it ended, where it came down to the last 10 races. I think 2004 to 2013,
2014 is when we got the new.
So
what we have today. Yeah.
10 years, I totally agree. I think you got 10 races into the season, you got 10 people that battled out. And in some degree, I think that still showed who the champion was in a certain degree, but I totally agree when, I think we don't have that bad, but because you got to look at it both ways. I thought the 10 race was really good when we just had the chase last 10 races, but at the same time, it's like, oh, if they have 2 bad races, they're out. But if they had like 3 or 4 bad races here, they could still be in, but they also mean they could be out. I think Larson had one kind of bad race last year, and that was the Roval, and out. So, like I said, it goes both ways. I think my burn it down. I've been very thinking about this, but what about NASCAR sweating out that Chase Elliott wouldn't make it to the Final Four, and neither would Martin Truex? I know we talked about this a little bit, but I think NASCAR is silently cheering on the inside that Chase Elliott didn't make it to the round of 4. I mean, to the championship 4, and neither did Martin Truex, because they could have had an absolute mess on their hand trying to crown a ton of people. So NASCAR just is smiling ear to ear right now, knowing that they got 4 drivers in the championship 4 that can win the drivers and the championship. So NASCAR, you just missed a bullet. You could thank Martin Truex and Chase Elliott for not making it in that championship 4. So,
and they got all 3 manufacturers in as well.
They did.
That's what they want.
They did. They did you got everyone's in play. Do you think we'll ever see where I think of last year when there was 3 in the Xfinity Series, 3 JRM cars in the championship 4, and the only one, and then Gibbs still won it last year. So do you think we'll ever see a time when I'm trying to think, JRM did it one other time, I think. I could be wrong.
Where they had 3 in?
They at least had 3 or 4. At least
you
3.
Almost had 3 this year with Joe Gibbs. I mean,
yeah.
But Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr. If Denny Hamlin wins, Martin Truex Jr. probably is very, very close.
Do you think we ever see a sweep? Do you think we'll ever see one team in Xfinity trucks or whatever get all 4 or all 3? Like Penske getting all 3.
With truck, absolutely not. I just because I don't think people build enough into it to get it, especially 4 teams. Xfinity, I think you could get close. I think it would be Joe Gibbs or JR, but that'll be. I mean,
Joe Gibbs only runs 2.
Really good.
I think JRM's the only one that runs 4 cars in it, so I think they had the only shot, and they got 3 last year. So
Right. Usually Gibbs runs 2, and then they have
yeah,
a
yeah,
sponsor ride or
an all-star
a
car.
glory car. Yeah, exactly. An all-star car. So probably not. And then with just today's car, I mean, Travis, in the offseason, we're going to give you reasons why X team is going to make it to the playoffs next year, or
Yeah,
X team is going to make it to the championship for. Those are things that, we'll talk in the offseason. We'll give report cards for these guys and all kinds of different stuff too, not to, get on a tangent, but I just think with today's day and age and how consistently NASCAR's been punishing people for changing single source parts, I just don't think we ever get to that point anymore.
yeah, I agree.
So, well, that's going to do it for us. If you want to support the show, you can do it on these different areas. You can obviously go to our YouTube channel where we're at right now, also streaming on Rumble and Stuck in the Catch Fence, and we are on Facebook. We will get more into those things. Again, this is the very first year of Stuck in the Catch Fence. We've had 500 plus of you subscribe. Completely appreciate all that you've done to help. The Patreon's there. If you ever decide to monetary donate, don't ask for you to do that as much. More convenient for you to just freely click on the subscribe button. If you want to also hit the bell, that lets you know whenever we go live, which we will do again later in this week. A long season coming down to the very, very last week, but that doesn't mean the content will stop, as we will have the shortest turnaround in all of major sports coming back in the middle of February. So, should be an absolute great one. Travis, you got anything to close?
Yeah, I picked Ryan Blaney to win on Sunday.
Ryan Blaney to win. That's right. You hear it. Casey Kane Jr. will win the championship, according to Travis Butt.
No, Kyle Larson. I'm just saying I picked him to win Martinsville in our last show.
Okay. I got scared. I was just going to leave it at that. I was
Oh,
going to
heck
flip it and make
no.
a short out of it.
No. You guys can get my pick on Wednesday, but no hints given out or anything.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm almost the same way, so I can't say no. But we'll have everything Wednesday, including Richard Childress calling somebody the stupidest driver he's ever met. So look forward to that in the weekly show. My name is Ryan Pierce. It's Travis Butt. Thanks for tuning in to Stuck in the Catchfence.